Marguerite Doyle is 77 years old. She lives alone in a second-floor apartment in Zanesville, Ohio, in the same building she moved into after her husband Ray died. Her Social Security check is $1,388 a month. After the rent, the electric, and the part of her medicine Medicare does not cover, she has about $90 left for food. $90 for a month. Last August, Marguerite did what she does every August. She went through the grocery store with a calculator in her purse and she put things back. Chicken back. Coffee back. And she told herself, the way people of her generation tell themselves that other folks had it worse and she would manage. Here is what I need you to know. That whole time, there were three things sitting in front of Marguerite that she had every right to, and not one of them required a lawyer, a fee, or anybody's permission. Three things she could have done in the month of August that would have put about $2,900 back into her life inside of a year. She did not do any of them. Not because she did not qualify. She qualified for all three. She did not do them because nobody ever told her they existed, and because every one of them has a clock on it that runs out quietly while you are not looking. $2,900. Let me scale that, because a number by itself means nothing until you stretch it across the years you actually have left. Two of these three repeat every single year. Over 20 years of retirement, that is more than $50,000. Money that either sits in your account or sits in somebody else's, and the only difference between those two outcomes is a phone call you make in the next 3 weeks. And I want to be honest about why this makes me angry, on your behalf. None of these three is a loophole. None is a trick. None is a program for people who did not work. Every one is a rule that already exists, already funded, already sitting there with your name close enough to it that a clerk could find you in about 4 minutes. Nobody sends you a letter. There is no automatic enrollment. The system is built so that if you do not ask, you do not get, and almost nobody asks because almost nobody knows there is anything to ask about. The third one is the biggest, and it is different from the other two because the third one is not a benefit at all. It is money that is already yours. It is money your state is holding right now in an account with your name on it, and it will sit there until you go and get it. I am saving that one for last on purpose, so stay with me to the end. Here is how this is going to go. For each one I will tell you what it is in one sentence, then what it is worth in real dollars, then exactly who qualifies. And I am going to spend most of that time knocking down the reasons you are about to give yourself for why this is not you, and then the exact words to say when you pick up the phone, because the phone call is where almost everybody freezes. My name is Ellis Grant. I am not a lawyer. I do not work for Social Security, for Medicare, or for your state, and I do not make one dime whether you claim these or not. What I do is read the rules, the actual rules, the fine print written to be boring on purpose, and tell you in plain English what they mean for your money. And before we start, make me one promise. I do not care if you own your home. I do not care if you have money in the bank. I do not care if your check is bigger than your neighbor's, or if you worked 45 years and never took a dime from anybody. Every one of those is a reason people give themselves for hanging up the phone. And every one of them is wrong at least half the time. Do not disqualify yourself in your own kitchen. That is the government's job, and frankly, they are not very good at it either. Before the first one, let me answer the question already forming in your head. If this is real, why has nobody told me? The honest answer is not a conspiracy. It is worse in a way, because it is nobody's job. Social Security's job is to pay your Social Security, not to tell you about a food program run by the Department of Agriculture. Medicare's job is to process your claims, not to warn you that your plan is about to stop covering your blood pressure pill. Your state treasurer's job is to hold unclaimed money safely, not to hunt you down and hand it to you. 3 agencies, none of which talks to the other 2, and not one employee anywhere whose job description says, "Call Marguerite in Zanesville and tell her what she is owed." And then there is the second reason, which is harder to say out loud. This generation does not ask. You were raised not to be a burden. So when somebody mentions food assistance, or a subsidy, or a claim form, something in your chest tightens up and says, "That is for people who need it more than me." Hear this from somebody who has read the rules. Every one of these 3 was paid for with money that came out of your paycheck for 40 or 50 years. You are not asking for charity. You are asking for change back. The first one is food, and I need you to stay with me, even though you have already decided this is not you. In one sentence, there is a federal food benefit. Most people still call it food stamps. The real name is SNAP, and inside it there is a special rule that applies only to people 60 and over. It is the single most skipped over piece of the whole program. The number first. Nationally, the average older adult on SNAP gets around $110 a month. But that average is dragged down by people who applied without knowing the senior rule. When a senior household reports what it is supposed to report, the benefit very often lands between $150 and $200 a month. Call it $160. That is $1,920 a year of groceries you do not pay for out of a $1,300 check. Now the rule almost nobody uses. The reason your neighbor got denied and told everybody the program is a waste of time. For most households, SNAP looks at your income and there is a hard limit. But if there is a person aged 60 or older in the household, the rules change in 2 enormous ways. First, in most states there is no asset test for a household with a senior in it. Your house does not count. Your car does not count. In the large majority of states, your savings account does not count either. People hear means tested and picture a caseworker going through their bank statements. For a senior household, in most of the country, that is simply not how it works anymore. Second, and this is the one, a senior household can deduct out-of-pocket medical expenses over $35 a month from its countable income. Read that again. Not from the benefit. From the income they use to decide whether you qualify at all. And think about what actually counts. Your Medicare Part B premium, taken straight out of your check. Your supplemental premium. Your drug plan premium. Every copay at the pharmacy and at the doctor. Dentures, eyeglasses, hearing aids and the batteries, a walker, even the mileage to your medical appointments. For a typical person on Medicare, that is easily $300 to $500 a month, and every dollar of it over 35 comes off the income they judge you on. So the person who calls and says, "My income is $1,600 a month," gets told no. The person who says, "My income is $1,600 a month and my out-of-pocket medical is $420, is judged on $1,180 and gets a yes. Same person, same month, different phone call. Let me put a face on it. Wendell Pruitt is 80, lives in Muskogee, Oklahoma, retired off the railroad. He gets $1,740 a month, which in his mind is far too much to qualify for anything, and he will tell you so, at length, with some pride. His wife passed in 2022. He takes 6 medications, and between his supplement, his drug plan and his copays, he spends about $380 a month on medical care. His granddaughter finally talked him into calling. He was polite about it, and he expected a no. What he got was $141 a month on a card, $1,692 a year. He used the first month of it to buy the groceries he had stopped buying. Real coffee, meat that was not on the reduced rack, and, he told his granddaughter, blueberries, which he had not had in the house in 4 years. He had been eligible for 6 years and did not know it. So here is exactly what to do and exactly what to say. Call your state's SNAP office. If you do not know the number, call the USDA National Hunger Hotline at 1-866-3-HUNGRY. That is 1-866-348-6479. They will connect you to your state. Or ask at your local senior center. They do this every day. And when somebody picks up, say these words. I am over 60. I would like to apply for SNAP, and I would like to apply under the elderly simplified application if my state has one. Then, and this is the important part, I need to report my out-of-pocket medical expenses so they are counted in the medical expense deduction. Say that second sentence, even if they do not ask, especially if they do not ask. That phrase, elderly simplified application, exists in most states, and it means a shorter form, often no in-person interview, and a certification that lasts up to 3 years instead of 6 months. You will not be offered it. Ask for it. And before you dial, put 3 things on the kitchen table. Your Medicare card, a rough list of your monthly medical costs, and your rent and utility amounts. Housing costs get a deduction too, and that one is often bigger than people expect. Now I have to stop and warn you, because the moment I tell an audience like this about a benefit, the people who prey on seniors show up right behind me. There are 2 scams running right now attached to exactly what I am describing. The first is a text message. It says your SNAP or EBT card has been suspended, or your benefits need re-verifying, and there is a link or a number to call. They will ask for your card number and your 4-digit PIN. Understand this clearly. Nobody legitimate will ever ask you for that PIN, by phone or by text. Not the state, not the store, not the police. Delete it. And if you have already given the number out, call the number on the back of your card and have it frozen today. The second one attaches to the third thing I am about to tell you about. Somebody sends you an official-looking letter saying they have located money belonging to you and can recover it for a fee or for a percentage, sometimes $300 up front, sometimes 40% of whatever they find. Do not sign it. Do not pay it. I am going to show you how to do exactly what they do for free in about 10 minutes on your own. The rule to carry with you for the rest of your life is simple. Real money owed to you never costs money to get. The second one is Medicare, and specifically, it is about a letter that is going to land in your mailbox in about 4 weeks. In one sentence, every year your Medicare drug plan is allowed to change what it covers, what it charges, and which pharmacies it likes. And it tells you in one boring envelope in late September that most people throw away. That envelope is called the Annual Notice of Change. If you are in a Part D drug plan or a Medicare Advantage plan, your plan is required to send it by the end of September. Inside, in small type, is everything changing on January 1st? Your premium, your deductible, which drugs are on the list, and which ones got kicked off? Which pharmacy is now preferred, and which one just became expensive? Here is why August matters. Open enrollment, the window where you can actually change plans, runs October 15th through December 7th. 7 weeks. And it does not extend for anybody. If you wait for the letter, then wait until you feel like dealing with it, you end up making a rushed decision about your medicine in the middle of the holidays. August is the month you get ready. That is the whole point, the number. People who actually run the comparison and switch commonly save between $500 and $800 a year on the same medications. Call it $600. And be clear about what that means. $600 for the identical pills out of the identical bottle from a plan you can pick in 20 minutes on the phone with somebody who will not charge you anything. Now let me knock down the reasons you are already giving yourself. I have been in this plan for years and it has been fine. That is not a reason to stay. That is a reason to check. Plans get repriced every year, and the plan that was cheapest for your list 3 years ago is very often near the top today. The companies know most people never switch. They price accordingly. I am afraid I will lose coverage if I change something. You will not. Switching drug plans during open enrollment happens millions of times a year, and the new plan starts January 1st with no gap. One more piece worth a minute, because a lot of people have not heard it yet. There is now a hard yearly cap on what you pay out of pocket for covered prescriptions under Part D, a real ceiling, after which your covered drugs cost you nothing for the rest of the year. And alongside it, there is an option to spread those costs evenly across the 12 months, instead of getting hammered in January. It is called the Medicare Prescription Payment Plan. It does not lower your total, but it turns a $600 January into a manageable monthly number, which, on a fixed check, is the difference between filling the prescription and not filling it. Ada Comstock is 73, lives outside Bangor, Maine. Same drug plan since she went on Medicare. Last fall, she opened the September envelope, decided the number looked about the same, and put it in the drawer with the Christmas cards. In February, she went to fill the inhaler she had used for 11 years and was told it was no longer on her plan's list. The alternative her plan did cover did not work for her the same way. She spent the rest of the year paying $210 a month out of pocket for the inhaler that used to cost her $2,500, because of one envelope in a drawer. Here is exactly what to do. In August, write 2 things on an index card. Every prescription you take, with the dose, and the name and address of the pharmacy you actually use. That card is the whole job. Everything else is somebody else's work. Then call 1-800-Medicare. That is 1-800-633-4227. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it is free. I would like you to run a drug plan comparison for next year, using my current prescription list and my pharmacy. Please tell me my total estimated yearly cost in my current plan and the total in the 3 cheapest plans for my drugs. Total yearly cost, not the premium. The premium is the trick. A plan with a low premium and a bad drug list will cost you triple. Ask for the total. And if you would rather talk to a human being who sits in your own state and is not selling anything, every state has a free counseling program called SHIP, the State Health Insurance Assistance Program. Ask the Medicare representative for your state's SHIP number. They are volunteers and retired professionals, they get no commission, and they will go through it with you, line by line. Now the third one. This is the one I have been saving, and it is different, because this is not a benefit and it is not assistance. This is your own money, being held by your own state right now in an account with your name on it. In one sentence, every state has an unclaimed property office, usually inside the state treasurer's office. And when a company loses track of you and cannot deliver money it owes you, the law requires that company to turn the money over to the state, where it sits forever until somebody claims it. Nationally, states are holding tens of billions of dollars in unclaimed property. Roughly 1 in 7 Americans has some. And the older you are, the more likely it is, because you have had more addresses, more accounts, more employers, and more time. What kind of money? An old savings account at a bank that merged into another bank, and then a third one. A utility deposit from a house you moved out of in 1984. A final paycheck from a job you left. An uncashed insurance refund. A pension payment from a company that no longer exists. And the biggest single category for people watching this: money owed to a spouse who has died. Life insurance proceeds where the company could not locate the beneficiary. A last paycheck. When Ray died, did anybody go through and close the accounts he opened before you were even married? Almost nobody does. The money does not disappear. It goes to the state and it waits. Now the part that makes me want to put my head through a wall. The search is free. The claim is free. And it takes about 10 minutes. The amounts are unpredictable, and I will not lie to you about that. Plenty of people search and find $11. But the average paid claim in most states runs into the hundreds. A great many run over 1,000. And every state treasurer in this country has a photograph of somebody holding a check for tens of thousands. It costs you 10 minutes to find out which one you are. Elmer Hobbs is 76, lives in Yuba City, California. His wife Dolores died in 2019. Elmer is not a computer person. His nephew sat down with him at the kitchen table one Sunday and typed both their names into the state's website, mostly to prove there would be nothing there. There were 4 things: a $22 utility deposit from a rental in 1991, $68 from a bank, a small stock dividend account nobody in the family knew existed, and an uncashed life insurance payment in Dolores's name for $4,160 from a policy her first employer had taken out in the 1970s that she had almost certainly forgotten she had. Elmer got a check. It took 11 weeks and it cost him nothing but a copy of his driver's license and a copy of the death certificate. Here is exactly how to do it. And do this one first, because it is the fastest. Go to your state treasurer's unclaimed property website. Every state has one and every one is free. If you want to search several states at once, and you should, because you should search every state you have ever lived in, the national site run by the state treasurer's own association is missingmoney.com. That is the state's own tool. It does not charge you. Search your name, then with your middle initial and without it. Then any name you have gone by, a maiden name, a married name from a first marriage, then your late spouse's name, then your parents' names if you are the one who handled the estate. If you do not use a computer, do not let that stop you, because this is where people quit. Call your state treasurer's office directly. Every state has a phone line for this. And say these words: I would like to search for unclaimed property in my name and in my late spouse's name, and I would like you to mail me the claim forms. Preferably, recalled and his may spoken, said, Please tell me exactly what proof of identity, and what proof of relationship you need. So I only have to send it once. This will save you a month. The number one reason claims sit is an incomplete packet. And if you do not want to call, take this to your public library. Librarians do it for people constantly, and they will not make you feel foolish. Or ask a grandchild. It is 10 minutes of their time, and it may be the best paying 10 minutes of their year. So why am I telling you this in August and not in October or January? Because each of these three has a clock on it, and the clocks are not obvious. The Medicare one is the clearest. Your annual notice of change arrives by the end of September, and open enrollment is October 15th to December 7th. Build your prescription list in August, and you walk into October ready. The call takes 20 minutes instead of an hour and a half of digging through the cabinet while somebody waits on the line. The food benefit takes up to 30 days to process. Apply in August and you are covered for the fall, when the heating bill starts competing with the grocery bill. Apply in December and you are eating on hope through the holidays. And the unclaimed money has no deadline at all, which is exactly why it never gets done. No envelope, no due date, no penalty. It will sit there for the rest of your life, and it will sit there after you are gone. And then it becomes your children's problem to prove they are entitled to it, with a probate court in the middle. Do it now, while it is a 10-minute job with your own driver's license instead of a legal proceeding with a lawyer's bill attached. Let me add it up, because I want you to see the whole number in one place. The food benefit, done correctly with the medical expense deduction, is around $160 a month, $1,920 a year. The drug plan comparison, for most people who actually run it, is about $600 a year. That is $2,520 a year, every year, for 2 phone calls. Then the unclaimed money. One time, and different for everybody, but among people who find something, a few $100s is common and 1,000 or more is not unusual at all. Put 400 on it, conservatively, for the first year. $2,900 in the first 12 months. And because the first 2 repeat over 20 years, more than $50,000. Sit with that. $50,000 over the rest of your retirement, and the entire cost of admission is 2 phone calls and 10 minutes on a website. No application fee, no lawyer, nobody to pay. That is not an investment strategy. It is just money that is already yours, that you have to reach out and take, because the system was built so nobody hands it to you. I want to go back to Marguerite Doyle in Zanesville. She did eventually find out, the way most people find out, which is by accident. A woman at her church mentioned that her sister was getting help with groceries. Marguerite said, "Oh, that is not for me." And the woman said, "That is exactly what I said." Marguerite made the call in October. She reported her medical costs, her Part B premium, her supplement, her co-pays. Her benefit came out to $153 a month. In November, her granddaughter searched her name and raise on the state's website. Nothing under Marguerite. Under Raymond Doyle, there was a final paycheck from a company he had left in 1988 and a small credit union account nobody had closed. $694. And in December she called Medicare and ran the comparison for the first time in 9 years. Her new plan saved her $48 a month on the same 3 prescriptions. Marguerite told her granddaughter the part that stuck with me, and it is the reason I make these videos. She said she was not angry about the money. She said she was angry about the years. 6 years of putting the chicken back on the shelf when the answer was a phone number she could have dialed from her own kitchen. That is what I am trying to save you. not just the $2,900. The years. So let me leave you with the three, in the order I would do them. Today, do the free one. Search your state's unclaimed property site and missingmoney.com. Your name, your maiden name, your late spouse's name, every state you have lived in. 10 minutes. This week, make the snap call. Say the words, I am over 60, I want the elderly simplified application, and I need to report my out-of-pocket medical expenses for the medical expense deduction. And before the end of the month, write your prescription list on an index card and call 1-800-Medicare. Ask for your total estimated yearly cost in your current plan and in the 3 cheapest plans for your drugs. Then ask for your state's free ship counselor. 3 things: 2 phone calls and a website. Now the honest part. I am not a lawyer, I am not a financial advisor, and I do not work for any agency. Programs vary by state, and the numbers move every year. So treat everything I have told you as the map, not the territory. The people at the numbers I gave you have the current figures, and they are the ones who decide. Your job is not to know the rules better than they do. Your job is to pick up the phone and ask the right question. And now you have the questions. And one last thing. If you are watching this and you are doing all right, think of somebody who is not. The sister-in-law who stopped inviting people over? The neighbor whose porch light goes off earlier than it used to? The friend who says she is fine in a way that does not sound fine? Send them this. Do not ask them if they need it, because they will say no. That generation always says no. Just send it and let them watch it alone, where nobody can see their face. That is how these 3 things actually reach the people they were built for. Not through a letter from the government, through somebody who loves them. Istall för eledig education handin rositories, productestjunzinding hisspokestiming hisstellerstanden in heiningith al uitenkniels photoschiff at okshesh and for motherland. If this was useful, subscribe and turn the bell on, because I do one of these every week. And there is always another rule nobody told you about. Take care of yourself and go make the call.